Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Come on!
Live from Aganda Beach in Goa, in India. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host Raghunath and co-host and senior educator Kastuba Das, who's live in Mayapur. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to our daily study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm here with Miss Mara. We're at Aganda Beach. Ran into one of our 300-hour students, graduates, and she said she went to Humpy, and now we're excited. Maybe we'll go to Humpy for a few days because it is only a train ride away. It's not that far from here, and it's been on our bucket list. Ancient city, the city of Hanuman, Kastuba.
Well, you've been doing a lot of talking, Raghunath. You talked about Chitrakoot. You talked about Dwarka. Well, let's see if you make it to Humpy.
I may not make. You know what? Sometimes I think less is more. Sometimes do less, Kastuba. Do
Right.
less. But that being said,
Talk more.
Talk more. Maybe do less.
Okay.
But I have some burning Humpy desires inside me, and we could do.
I would love to go to Humpy. I was scheduled to go to Humpy one time, but I got sick just before going.
Who we're gonna go with?
With Kita Priya, with my wife.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, it was all set. We had tickets and everything.
Oh, really? Well, it's not that far from here.
Yeah. You know, they say Humpy is like, what is it? The Vijayanagara, is that what it's called? The empire?
Yeah.
And,
like
and so there's this ancient Vaishnava empire, right? And dedicated to Ram and Hanuman. And the ruins are there.
Yeah, incredible ruins. Like, oh
man. Oh no. Raghunath's electricity just went out. That's bad. Because that means he's got to, unless it comes on again quick, he's got to run to some restaurant or something to get it started. I hope he'll be with us today. Things get challenging when he goes over there. You know, he's got a blackout. So let me just, let's see if and when we're going to get Raghunath back. Hopefully he'll be joining us back in a few minutes, which means that I don't know anything about the announcements that Mero is going to make. And but I do have a nugget that I really wanted to discuss with Raghunath. So hopefully he'll come in while I'm still talking. But I'll give it a shot. Now, this nugget is an unusual one. It's from a Lebanese satirist. Maybe this is someone Karuna has heard of before, but his name is Karl Sharro, because we do have our Karuna and family listening out there in Lebanon. So his name is Karl Sharro. And, we got Raghunath. Are you there? Speak to me. He's trying to come back. Let's see if he comes back. Okay, Karuna does not know him, which doesn't surprise me. Okay, here's Raghunath. Asked to unmute. There you go, Raghu. Speak to me.
We're going to get there. No, we're at the wrong. We're coming back. There it is.
No. Oh, okay. Anyway, let me read from this nugget. I don't know how good Raghunath is going to come in. But here we go. This is from Karl Sharro, the Lebanese satirist. And he says this, and I think this is something worth thinking about. He says, humans doing the hard jobs. Raghunath, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys.
Hopefully your connection is good.
Mm.
Are you ready for the
Yeah, read that nugget, sir. Read that
or should we
nugget.
go ahead and do Mara's announcements?
We'll do it later. Just do the nugget. We're on it. You're on it. You're doing
Okay.
good.
You ready? I'm just getting started on it. Here goes. Humans doing the hard jobs on minimum wage,
Yeah.
while the robots write poetry and paint, is not the future that I wanted.
What robots are painting and doing poetry?
You know, that AI, you know,
Yeah.
all that stuff, right? So, you know, when we were kids, right, there was all this talk about how, and I guess it goes probably back to earlier, like the 40s or the 50s or something like that, maybe even before then. But certainly when we were growing up, there's talk like, you know, eventually the machines can do all the hard work and we'll be free and we'll only work like one day a week and we'll be free to roam around and do the things we want to do, be creative, do whatever we want to do. But somehow it doesn't work out that way, right? So
we're stuck inside doing computer programming.
And the computers are creating the painting and then the music and the art, you know, poetry, writing books, doing all the creative stuff that we want to have time for. You know, the machines are starting to do that, which is not only disappointing, but like kind of creepy. But, you know, we were, you and I think it was a few days ago or a week ago or something like that, we were talking about how Hiranyakashipu here in the Bhagavatam, how he was trying to beat the system.
Sure.
You know, he was trying to become immortal, you know, through practicing austerities and seeing if he could, even though he was told that he couldn't become immortal, he just tried to get benedictions in such a way where he were practically got around it or got in through some kind of loophole. But when I hear that, you know, when I hear this, it's like as a civilization, you know, we want to try, like in other words, if we take these ancient texts or of practically any wisdom culture, but let's go ahead and take ours, right? And it says, yeah, you can live in this world and you can live relatively peaceful and satisfied and happy. Most of you should be farmers, right? You should, you know, what you need will come from the earth. What you get cows and bulls and you love them like they're your own family members and you treat them with love and respect and care, and they're going to provide for you the energy that you need and the power that you need, the food that you need, the clothes that you need, the oil to light up your homes at night. You know, they're going to provide the earth, and the cows are going to provide everything that you need. Live simply, be satisfied with that. If you want to have sex, go ahead, have sex, and then raise children, you know, like take the responsibility that comes with it, you know, and it's like we try to get around these things in so many ways, and it never really works. And we're as miserable as we've ever been, you know, we're as probably more neurotic than we've ever been. There's just no way around it, you know?
Yeah. You know what drives me crazy? It was when my computer, which is basically a robot, asked me, "Are you sure you're not a robot?" I was like, I have to prove to my robot computer that I'm not a robot. And by jumping through so many hoops for my robot just to get the robot's approval of my humanship. That's what gets under my skin. How do we know you're not a robot? Just checking. Yeah. Beat the. I was thinking of Walt Disney trying to beat the system. They're going to freeze his body. I was trying to get Mara to look that up, but she didn't find it.
You're getting into all these guys, Walt Disney, and what was the other one? What was the guy that you did yesterday?
Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes.
I did look it up, but it was an urban legend that Walt Disney was frozen.
Oh, it's an urban legend. It's not even
it's not true.
Urban legend.
Oh, I don't believe that. He tried to freeze himself, and then it's a whole thing where you freeze your body. And
cryogenic.
Cryogenic, and you're saying it never happened?
It's an urban myth.
It's an urban myth. Okay. stand corrected. Anyway, the
Any
race
case,
against time. And I get it.
y-
We don't
y-
want to get old and die. I
well,
think it
you know,
was
you spoke.
Socrates who said, you never know. You never know. We could be fearing the greatest thing that's ever happened. You know, maybe death is this whole entryway into a much better existence than this world of threefold miseries.
Yeah, and you know, I don't think there's certainly death is one thing that we try. You know, people try to get around. Certainly, that's what's Hironikashipu's thing. But whatever it may be, you know, if within ourselves, you know, it has a lot to do with what our values is and what we think success looks like and what we think happiness looks like. But
Yeah.
if we bring it down, and if we get this idea that what am I looking for in this life?
Mm,
Am I looking to satisfy the senses and find, you know, sensual thrills, you know, or find pleasure through things like fame or prestige or money or whatever? Or is that not what it's all about?
mm,
Could it be about that it's about learning something, learning lessons in life?
mm.
You know, is there some message that I'm supposed to be that the movements of this world are speaking to me or informing me if I'm open to hearing the message, you know? And that attitude means, okay, if that's what I'm looking for, then let me live simply and let me be kind
Sure.
and let me try to take in what messages are there. And if I'm thinking that that's not it, that no, it's not about learning anything. It's about enjoying, you know, through the senses as much as possible. Then I become complicated, and very likely I become unkind. Very likely my needs, what I perceive as my needs, begin to seem to overlap with the needs or the perceived needs of other people, and
Sure.
that leads to conflict and tensions that bring anxiety, that
So
bring
much,
pain.
yeah, so much
Right.
anxiety. And the community and the culture either endorses it or makes it slackens it up a little. I know, like, you know, when
Right.
I lived in LA, or New York too, any sort of big city where the currency is your beauty, the currency is your strength, the currency is your money. When that's your focus, it's a problem when you start getting older and losing your beauty. You know, I get for I mean, I know all this stuff and I still get frustrated,
When
like,
you
God,
started
I'm
losing
getting
your beauty,
older. Well,
do you,
I was never a cover girl, believe it
do
or
you
not.
feel your beauty slipping away?
I was never a cover girl or a Sports Illustrated or Muscle and Fitness magazine guy, although I was at one point asked to be in Yoga Journal, but it never happened. I was going to be on the cover of
Is that
Yoga
what yoga
Journal.
journal means? That you're like
Yeah, like it
physically
generally means
attractive?
you're some good-looking yoga person on the cover.
Okay.
But anyway, where was I going
Well,
with
do you
this?
think that
With
some
all this
editor
knowledge,
hold,
I
but
still
just
get
one second,
frustrated.
Raghunath. One
What?
second. Do you think that there's some editors over that yoga journal and said, okay, who do you think should be on the cover? You know, 5 months down the road. Well, we got this guy, Raghunath Capo. Let's see the photos. No.
Pass. Well, I got news for you. It was at a time when I was a little better looking than I am now. Before my kids and my marriage aged me tremendously.
Okay.
Oh no. Their lights flickering. Do you see that? It's like it's like
I
Blair
do
Witch
see.
Project.
Oh no, there we go. I guess we get a warning now when we get the blinking. Hopefully Raghunath will be back soon. All right. So any case, you know, we spoke a little bit, but that is, you know, if we think about it, this is something that when I was a kid, when Raghunath was a kid, if we would have thought, yeah, this technology, we wouldn't have thought that machines could write books, that machines could create intricate art. We wouldn't have thought that. But that's what they're doing now. And we would hope that as the technology increases, that our burdens, you know, our work burdens would decrease. And somehow it doesn't work that way at all. You know, somehow it seems like it's working almost like entirely opposite of that. So, in any case, I just thought that was an interesting. You know, I thought it was interesting in general, his observation, but I thought, in particular, it was interesting in terms of just the broader message, about how no matter how, you know, no matter how technologically advanced we get, no matter how intelligent we are, no matter how much wealth we accrue or how powerful we become, we really just can't get around the system. And the only way that we're going to find satisfaction is through a simpler and kinder lifestyle. And in that simpler and kinder lifestyle, that's the conducive lifestyle for learning the lessons that we're meant to learn. Otherwise we're blocking them. It's that mode of passion. It's really, a lot of it is the difference between sattva guna and rajaguna, right? Rajaguna meaning I'm not satisfied. I want to change the externals so that I can find the happiness or the satisfaction that I'm looking for. And sattva guna, which has more to do with contentment, which, maybe the person in sattva guna may have far less in terms of resources than the person in rajaguna, but in their mind, they're saying, I have what I need. I don't need more. I'm willing to accept the circumstances as they are. And because I'm not focused on changing the externals, I can actually go within. As long as I'm dissatisfied with the externals, as long as the externals annoy me, bother me, confound me, or tempt me, I can never go within. But once I become content with the externals, once they're at a reasonable level, and I say, you know what, that's enough. That will work. Now I've let go of that, and I can actually start to look within, to dig within. And so that's what that's what I can say the bhakti culture is all about, but I could say bhakti culture, yoga culture in general. It has to do with cultivating that simplicity and cultivating that kindness, which is difficult to have without the simplicity. All right. I just got a message from Raghunath who says he's trying to come back. Meanwhile, why don't I go ahead and chant the opening shlokas, and we can start with Bhagavatam. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual masters have opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto them. Okay. So, picking up where we left off yesterday, we were reading. Oh, Raghunath, give me a phone call. Let's see what he has to say. Arvo? Hello? Well, he hung up on me too. He can't get it together today. All right, let me try again. So we were reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 4, which is entitled Hiranyakashipu Terrorizes the Universe. And I believe that we had read up to text 17. So we'll pick up at text 18 now. Let me see if we can give you a bit of a recap. Raghunath is saying that I may have to do the show without him today. So let's see how it goes. I'll do some reading and we'll see where it goes. Let's see. Okay, so let's get busy, and hopefully Raghunath will be back. I'm not sure if he will or not. We're up to text 18, and this is describing how Hiranyakashipu, how through his austerity he gained power. With his power, he took took the property of his rivals. Right now, he's living in the palace of Lord Indra. Lord Indra, who is dedicated to Vishnu, is kicked out. Hiranyakashipu, who is dedicated to killing Lord Vishnu, is now in. And his influence is so strong and his power is so great that pretty much everyone has to submit to him. And it's not that he's incompetent as a ruler. We're reading now about just how prosperous things were under his rule. So that's where we left off. We'll pick up on text 18, see what it has to say. Text 18. The valleys between the mountains became fields of pleasure for Hiranyakashipu, by whose influence all the trees and plants produce fruits and flowers profusely in all seasons. The qualities of pouring water, drying and burning, which are all the qualities of the three departmental heads of the universe, namely Indra, Vayu, and Agni, were all directed by Hiranyakashipu alone, without assistance from the demigods. So it mentions water, pouring water, that's the job of Indra, he's the god of the rain. Drying, that's the job of Vayu, he's the god of the wind. And burning, that's the realm of Agni, the god of fire. These are fundamental universal elements. According to these ancient Vedic texts, these are not things that just happen randomly, but these are things that are just like in any government, city government. There are departments with department heads that regulate the water, that regulate the different systems that work throughout the city. That these have rulers, and Hiranyakashipu is so powerful and so influential. He doesn't even need Indra, Vayu, and Agni. He's directing these things on his own. Text 19. In spite of achieving the power to... Now, this is interesting. In spite of achieving the power to control in all directions, and in spite of enjoying all types of dear sense gratification as much as possible, Hiranyakashipu was dissatisfied, because instead of controlling his senses, he remained their servant. Okay, now that text is very reminiscent of a text that Raghunath and I have been quoting a bit, and that will be coming up in the 8th canto, which again is the text that it's a famous verse spoken by Lord Vishnu himself in his incarnation as Vamanadev, when the relative, the descendant of Hiranyakashipu named Bali, who's also born in the demonic lineage, but a devotee at heart, when he meets Lord Vishnu in the guise of a dwarf brahmachari, and because the kings honored the brahmanas, he says, "Ask me what you want, and I'd be happy to provide it for you." And Lord Vamanadev, and Vishnu is Lord Vamanadev, says, "I only want 3 steps of land." It's 3 steps, so little. I could offer you so much. Why would you want only 3 little steps of land? And he says this verse that kind of is very harmonious with what we're reading here. He says, all that there is within the entire universe, that there is to satisfy the senses, right? All the beauty, everything that tastes delicious, everything that feels satisfying, everything that looks beautiful, everything that smells, with a beautiful aroma, everything that there is to satisfy the senses within the entire universe is not enough to satisfy the senses of someone whose senses are uncontrolled. Now, here we have an example of Hiranyakashipu, who he had conquered it all. Everything that he was imagining in his mind when he took up his austerities, and let's think about those austerities again. He's standing on his toes with his arms in the air, right? For years and years and years as a time, as the most intense tapasvi, performing tapasya, performing austerities as a yogi. So determined that even though his body is being eaten by ants and termites. He maintains his body in his bones, and his entire body is wrapped up in encompassed by a giant anthill. And he's going on and on like this for years and years, so determined to achieve his desires, to achieve the power and the position that he sought. And then he got it. And even though he got it all, as it mentions here, Hiranyakashipu was dissatisfied because instead of controlling his senses, he remained their servant. Right? He was conquered by his senses. He was the servant of his senses. Generally we think that when we're serving our senses, that we're in control. We don't stop to think that, hold it, it seems to be that my senses are in control and I'm serving them. So let's read what Srila Prabhupada says in this commentary. He says, this is an example of asuric life. Atheists can advance materially and can create an extremely comfortable situation for the senses. But because they are controlled by the senses, they cannot be satisfied. This is the effect of modern civilization. Materialists, and so here we go. This is we were reading in the nugget today, right? We can create so much, we can control so much. Modern civilization can design so much. This is the effect, right? But because they are controlled by the senses, they cannot be satisfied. Materialists are very much advanced in enjoying money and women, yet dissatisfaction prevails within human society because human society cannot be happy and peaceful without Krishna consciousness. And, it says, of course, when it says, is materialists are very much advanced in enjoying money and women. And in our modern age, where women are largely liberated, it's whether it's men or women, we're seeking satisfaction through money, we're seeking satisfaction through position, we're seeking satisfaction through power, we're seeking satisfaction through sex. But because we're controlled by these things, we're never satisfied, because those desires are never satisfied. It's like if you're pouring gasoline on fire, the fire doesn't say, okay, thank you, that was enough gasoline and I'm satisfied now. No, the more that you pour on it, the more that it blazes. Prabhupada continues, as far as material sense gratification is concerned, materialists may go on increasing their enjoyment as far as they can imagine. But because people in such a material condition are servants of their senses, they cannot be satisfied. Hiranyakashipu was a vivid example of this dissatisfied state of humanity. All right. So text 20 continues. Hiranyakashipu thus passed a long time being very much proud of his opulences and transgressing the laws and regulations mentioned in the authoritative shastras, in authoritative wisdom texts. He was therefore subjected to a curse by the 4 Kumaras, who were great brahmanas. And this is going back, if we go back to the 3rd canto, we can remember, how did Hiranyakashipu get in this position? He was one of the gatekeepers of Vaikuntha, of the spiritual realm, and he was cursed by the 4 Kumaras to take birth in the families of the Suras. So this is his first birth in the families, in the dynasties of the Asuras. Text 21. Everyone, including the rulers of the various planets, was extremely distressed because of the severe punishment inflicted upon them by Hiranyakashipu. Fearful and disturbed, unable to find any other shelter, they at last surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. And this is a common theme that we find in the Puranas, is that when things get too difficult, they turn to Vishnu. All the various Devas turn to Vishnu. They approach him and they offer their prayers. And here are the prayers, text 22 and 23. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto that direction where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated, where those purified souls in the renounced order of life, the great saintly persons go, and from which, having gone, they never return. Without sleep, fully controlling their minds, and living only on their breath, the predominating deities of the various planets began worshiping Rishikesha with this meditation. Rishikesha refers to Lord Vishnu. Literally, Rishikesha means the controller of the senses. He's the one that's ultimately behind their functioning. And so we can see they, in their distress, they wanted to communicate. They wanted, it was almost like we need to pick up the phone and connect with that being who is ultimately the one who ties this entire universe together. We need to reach that being. And that being may not be easy for us to reach. Even though that being is everywhere, we may be out of contact with that being. And so in order to facilitate that contact, they knew it requires absorbing our mind deeply. And so they did external things. This is how yoga works, right? There are external practices that help settle the mind so that one can go internal, find God. So what did they do? It said they went without sleep. They fully controlled their minds, and they're living only on their breath. So they weren't eating or sleeping. They were sitting and going into deep meditation. So let's read Prabhupada's commentary on this too, because I'll read their prayer again. It was short and simple. They said, let us offer respectful obeisances unto that direction. They're aiming at a certain place, unto that direction where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated, where those purified souls in the renounced order of life, the great saintly persons, they go to those places, and from which having gone, they never return. Now, this is what Srila Prabhupada writes in commentary. He says, the two words, tasyai, kashtayai, are very significant. Let me see those words. Tasyai means unto that, and kastayai means direction. So Prabhupada says the two words tasyai, kashtayai are very significant. Everywhere, in every, excuse me, everywhere, in every direction, in every heart, and in every atom, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated in his features as Brahman and Paramatma. Okay, that's an interesting statement. And he's mentioning two ways. When we hear about the absolute truth, the supreme God, when the Vedic texts speak of that God, they speak of that divine being as manifesting in three different ways. One way is called Brahman, one way is called Paramatma, and one way is called Bhagavan. So Brahman means it's the impersonal, all-pervasive feature of God, meaning that everything is made out of, in one sense, everything that exists in all creation, in all the spiritual realms, in all the material realms, it all exists. It's all a transformation of the energy of one central figure, and that is sweet baby Krishna, right? That from his body, just like the sun, it emanates heat and light. So from the figure of Krishna, that eternal form, emanates the rays of the Brahmajyoti, his spiritual energy. And everything, including the material world that we live in, is a transformation of that energy. Sometimes Prabhupada would say, he would quote the Puranas with this verse, Parasya Shaktir Vividaya Vishruyate, that the Supreme Lord, he works using his multifarious energies. Everything is accomplished by his different energies. And there's a famous verse in the Brahma Samhita that speaks about this energy that's emanating. Yasya prabhava prabhato jagananda koti kotish vashesha vasudari vibhuti binam tad brahma nishkalam anantam ashesha bhutam govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. This is the prayers of Lord Brahma. And he says, I serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. That's Sri Krishna, sweet baby Krishna. I serve Govinda. I'm devoted to Govinda. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental bodily effulgence, known as the Brahma Jyoti, the 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 effulgence or the light of Brahman. It's the spiritual light, the divine light, you could say, whose transcendental bodily effulgence, known as the Brahma Jyoti, which is unlimited, unfathomed, and all-pervasive, is the cause of the creation of unlimited numbers of planets with all different varieties of climates and specific conditions of life. So it's saying that this Brahma Jyoti it's all Krishna, it's all spiritual energy emanating from the form of Sri Krishna, and it transforms in different ways, including into this material world, but it's all his conscious spiritual energy. It's everywhere. So in that sense, God is everywhere because his energy and his consciousness is everywhere. So that's Brahman. And then Paramatma means that Krishna takes on another form. You could say expands into another form, multi-forms, down to the form of Lord Vishnu that's within the heart of every living being and within every atom. So if we realize the Brahman, if we realize that everything is made of one energy, everything that exists is part of one divine source. It's all made of one energy that manifests in different ways. And I am made of that same energy. And not only I'm made of that energy, but every living being is made out of that energy. And the world that we live in is made out of that energy. We call that Brahman realization. We realize I'm eternal. I'm blissful consciousness. I'm unchanging. I'm not constructed out of this ever-changing matter. I'm infinite. I'm beyond the gunas, and I'm innately free, right? I'm beyond fear and suffering. I'm made of pristine spiritual energy. I'm pure. I'm good. I'm faultless. I'm beautiful. I'm blissful. That is what I'm made of. That we call that Brahman realization. I don't change. I don't die, by the influence of time. I know myself to be made of this principle of eternity. It's inside me. It's what I'm made of. We call that Brahman realization. And Paramatma realization means that I know that within this energy of the material world, which is the transformation of that divine effulgence, wherein the elements of time are in effect, wherein the element of karma is in effect, wherein the three gunas are in effect, and they all are influencing, I realize that within every atom of this energy and within the heart of every living being is Lord Vishnu, a form of Lord Vishnu, a conscious entity, right? That is tying the entire thing together. That this awareness is so omniscient and unlimited that it can tie together the karma of every living being, and supply and provide and create in just such a way that we have the opportunity to learn the lessons that we're meant to learn as we move through this world, that there's a controller behind it all. We call that Paramatma realization. Bhagavan realization means that all of that, the impersonal Brahman energy, that personal form within the heart of every living being, that both of these come from one sweet, beautiful person named sweet baby Krishna, named Krishna. That form, we call that form Bhagavan. And so we can know God in either of these three different levels. We can know him as that impersonal energy, we can know him within the heart, and we can know him as a person. Now, what Prabhupada is speaking to here is he's saying the two words tasyai, kastyayai are very significant, because everywhere, in every direction, in every heart, and in every atom, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated in its features as Brahman and Paramatma. These are all pervasive aspects of Krishna's presence. So why do these demigods, when they're trying to connect with him, why do they point in one particular direction when God is everywhere? He continues, then what is the purpose of saying tasyai kastyayai in the direction where Hari is situated, in the direction where Lord Vishnu, or where God is situated? Then he continues, during Hiranyakashipu's time, his influence was everywhere, but he could not force his influence into the places where the Supreme Personality Godhead has his pastimes. For example, on this earth, there are such places as Vrindavan and Ayodhya, which are called Dhams. In the Dham, there is no influence from Kali Yuga or any demon. If one takes shelter of such a Dham, worship of the Lord becomes very easy, and resultant spiritual advancement quickly takes place. In fact, in India, one may still go to Vrindavan and similar places to achieve the results of spiritual activities quickly. And so that is part of, like Raghunath and I, we just took a group here to Navadvip. Navadvip is a Dham. Vrindavan is a Dham. Ayodhya is a Dham. What the sages say is that we live in a bubble that is a transformation of the Brahman energy. But it's you could say it's a cloud floating within that spiritual energy, but it's a cloud of material energy. It's a cloud, again, where time is present, where the gunas have their influence, where where the law of karma is in effect. And but these places, Vrindavan or Navadvip or Ayodhya, they are actually from the spiritual realm, and they manifest here. You could say it's the spiritual world within the material energy, or we might say it's like a vortex. Honestly, I don't. Let me look up the word vortex and see exactly what it means, and see if I think that's a appropriate word. Vortex. A massive whirling fluid or air, especially a whirlpool or whirlwind. Well, that's definitely not what I had in mind. But I think when people use the word vortex, they mean like an entryway into another realm. And you could say it's an entryway into another realm, or you could say actually it is that other realm in this realm. But I suppose by walking into it, you're walking into it, if that's what a vortex means, which according to this definition doesn't mean that. So Srila Prabhupada is saying, therefore, the demigods, they aimed in that direction. They aimed in the direction where they knew the contact with that divine being is very accessible, is very open, is very close there. One can feel it there. And Prabhupada says it's a fact in India one may still go to Vrindavan and similar places to achieve the results of spiritual activities. And we do that and we feel that. Okay, text 24. Then there appeared before them a transcendental sound vibration emanating from a personality not visible to material eyes. The voice was as grave as the sound of a cloud, and was very encouraging, driving away all fear. So they didn't sleep, they didn't eat, they went into deep absorption and meditation and prayer to open up a line of communication. And then they heard a message. And that message was this very beautiful voice, very deep voice, grave as the sound of a cloud. And it was very encouraging. When they heard this voice, there was no fear in them, right? Even though the situation was so fearful, just hearing this voice, all fear was dissipated. The voice of the Lord vibrated as follows. O best of learned persons, do not fear. I wish all good fortune to you. Become my devotees by hearing and chanting about me and offering me prayers, for these are certainly meant to award benedictions to all living entities. I know all about the activities of Hiranyakashipu and shall surely stop them very soon. Please wait patiently until that time. So, okay, the message comes, and essentially what he says is, have no fear, I'm here for you, but also they get instructions on how to engage themselves, how to engage their minds. And essentially they were given the fundamental practices of bhakti: hearing, chanting, shravanam, kirtanam, vandanam, offering prayers. And through this, they will feel that connection. In other words, in hearing that voice, their fear was dissipated. And essentially what he's saying here is you can remain connected to me, right? You fasted and you didn't sleep and you picked up the telephone and you gave me a call through deep absorption in the mind. You can maintain that connection and never feel fear through these practices, especially hearing and chanting, right? Especially hearing from the sacred text and chanting the names of Krishna. Through that, one will always feel that connection. When one is envious of the demigods, who represent the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of the Vedas, which give all knowledge, of the cows and Brahmanas, Vaishnavas and religious principles, and ultimately me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he and his civilization will be vanquished without delay. When Hiranyakashipu teases the great devotee, so this is still Vishnu speaking, he says, when Hiranyakashipu, when he teases the great devotee Prahlad, his own son, who is peaceful and sober and has no enemy, I shall kill Hiranyakashipu immediately, despite the benedictions of Brahma. So he's saying, this person, he thinks he's beat the system. He hasn't beat the system. And as soon as he crosses the line, and that line, even though he's done so much and taken such control, the real line that he's going to cross is how he treats his son, who is a very devoted soul. Right? Let's see. Prabhupada writes here in the commentary. He said, a Vaishnava like Prahlad is described herein as nirvaira, having no enemies. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, Ajata Satrava Shanta Sadhava Sarubhushana. A devotee has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. A devotee does not create enmity with anyone. But if someone becomes his enemy, that person will be vanquished by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, despite whatever benedictions he may have received from other sources. So Hiranyakashipu was certainly enjoying the fruitful results of his austerities, but here the Lord says that as soon as he committed an offense at the lotus feet of Prahlad, he would be ruined. One's longevity, opulence, beauty, excuse me, one's longevity, opulence, beauty, education, and whatever else one may possess as a result of pious activities cannot protect one if one commits an offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, pure, devoted soul. Despite whatever one possesses, if one offends the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, they will be vanquished. Okay. Text 29. The great Saint Narada Muni continued, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual master of everyone, thus reassured all the demigods living in the heavenly planets, they offered their respectful obeisances unto him and returned, confident that the demon Hiranyakashipu was now practically dead. He's like, what do they call it? A dead man walking. Hiranyakashipu had 4 wonderful, well-qualified sons, of whom the one named Prahlad was the best. Indeed, Prahlad was a reservoir of all transcendental qualities because he was an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead. Now we're hearing about Prahlad. We're 3.5 chapters in to the 7th canto, but we're beginning to hear about the person that we're going to hear about and hear from at great length. This 7th canto is largely the pastime of Lord Nrsingadev, Lord Vishnu appearing as the man-lion incarnation. But really, if we look at all there's 7 or 8 chapters that cover that story, Lord Nrsingadev himself, he speaks not so much in the entire thing. The main character, the main focus is his devotee Prahlad, and what we can learn about life and what we can learn about the practice of bhakti from Prahlad. And so probably like the most important underlying theme in that was Hiranyakashipu was a demon. Hiranyakashipu was convinced that he had enemies. Hiranyakashipu was convinced that he would find happiness by crushing his enemies and usurping their position and their power. Prahlad was the polar opposite of this. Prahlad, to him, thinking of any living being as being an enemy, even thinking of them as not part of the one, right? That he saw everyone composed of spirit. He had more than the Brahman realization, but he had that Brahman realization. We're all made of the energy of God. God is everywhere. Towards the end of the story, Hiranyakashipu is going to be furious, and he's going to be screaming at his son, "Where is it that you get your power? How can you stand against me?" And he says, "I get it from the same place you get your power." Ultimately, all the power is coming from Vishnu. It's all coming from that one source. And he's saying, and Hiranyakashipu is like, again, furious. "How can you say this? You say that he's everywhere. Where is he? Is he in this pillar?" And there's a massive pillar there. And Sri Prahlad says, "Yes, of course, he's in that pillar. He's everywhere." And then Hiranyakashipu goes to smash the pillar, and out of the pillar comes this furious form of Lord Nrsingadev. So it's this Prahlad that we're going to hear from, and it's especially the purity of his vision, that he was incapable. It was entirely contrary to his nature to see any living being, even his father, who was torturing him. He could not see them as an enemy. He could only see them as another divine being. So that's going to be kind of our main theme as we move forward in this canto. Next texts 31 and 32. The qualities of Maharaj Prahlad, the son of Hiranyakashipu, are described herewith. He was completely cultured as a qualified Brahmana, having very good character, and being determined to understand the absolute truth. He had full control of his senses and mind. Like the super soul, he was kind to every living entity and was the best friend of everyone. To respectable persons, he acted exactly like a menial servant. To the poor, he was like a father. To his equals, he was attached like a sympathetic brother, and he considered his teachers, spiritual masters, and older godbrothers to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was completely free from unnatural pride that might have arisen from his good education, riches, beauty, aristocracy, and so on. These are the qualities that facilitate deep spiritual insight, right? Deep spiritual realization, deep spiritual experience. Although Prahlad Maharaj was, and it's interesting, because a lot of the superficial stuff that goes on in the name of spirituality, it just bypasses all of this. This is where the work is done, right? It's this kind of inner character work that facilitates spiritual experience, to become humble, to become kind, to give shelter to others, to develop deep friendships with others, to be completely free of pride and any opulence that one might have. Text 33. Although Prahlad Maharaj was born in a family of Asuras, he himself was not an Asura, but a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. Unlike the other Asuras, he was never envious of a Vaishnava. He was not agitated when put into danger, and he was neither directly nor indirectly interested in the fruit of activities described in the Vedas. Indeed, he considered everything material to be useless, and therefore he was completely devoid of material desires. He always controlled his senses and life air, and being of steady intelligence and determination, he subdued all lusty desires. O King, Prahlad Maharaj's good qualities are still glorified by learned saints and Vaishnavas. As all good qualities are always found existing in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they also exist forever in his devotee, Prahlad Maharaj. Okay, maybe we got to wrap it up there. I'm just figured maybe I'd take a look at the, I haven't had a chance to, but take a look at the chat board and see if you guys have given me any takeaways for today. And I don't know if any of you had. I don't see anything here. So we'll leave it at that. Let me crank up the music. I'm sorry, everyone, that we I hope you can hear this. Can you hear the music? Give me a thumbs up. No, I don't even know how to do this. Mara knows how to do it. So we're gonna have to. Oh, you did hear the music? Yeah. Okay, you got the music. Great. Great. Okay. Very good. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry that we didn't have Raghunath with us today and Mara with us today. I really hope they get their act together. It's because I don't anticipate doing this every day on my own. But I hope it was all right. And let me see all your faces there. There's everybody. Jai Shri Krishna Bolo Jai Radhe. All right, everybody. Thank you for sticking with me.